Hello there, this is Qtv News. I am Maria Masane and thanks for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. The president of the ECOWAS Commission told journalists that the sub-regional bloc's continuing support for Gambia's progress after meeting President Barrow. The mayor of Banjul joined other African mayors for the regional launch of the Making Cities Resilient 2030. Today is World AIDS Day and we hear how the Gambia has been tackling the epidemic. The Gambia Police Force, in partnership and support from the GCCI, inaugurated a newly refurbished police clinic. In business news, we hear about a bank unveiling its new name. In international news, today is Special Voting Day in Ghana. We find out what that means. The rise in gender-based violence in Botswana has led the country to establish special courts. Now the local news in detail. The visiting Jean-Claude Cassie-Brew, president of ECOWAS Commission, on Tuesday, after meeting President Barrow, told journalists that the sub-regional bloc will continue to stand by and support the Gambia and its government to accomplish its development aspirations and ongoing reform process. Alucisa reports.
The visit to the Gambia by this high-powered delegation from ECOWAS forms part of regular consultation between ECOWAS and member states, including the Gambia, on various issues of common interest. Speaking to the press shortly after meeting President Barrow at the State House in Banjul, Jean-Claude Cassie-Brew, president of the ECOWAS Commission, told reporters that the visit has given him the opportunity to assess the level of the COVID-19 and sanitary situation in the Gambia and the impact on the economy.
And we are very pleased to notice that with all the action taken by the government and the authorities, the sanitary situation of the COVID-19 has really improved. And we really commended the authorities for that, for the work that has been done. You know, we are following this situation at the regional level. The impact on the economy also, we have discussed that, and the government has been taking action to revive some of the sectors that have been impacted.
He further disclosed that the delegation also held discussions with government officials on the ongoing reform agenda, particularly on the delayed draft constitution and the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission.
ECOWAS, of course, is very keen in supporting, working and accompanying, supporting the authorities, because a new constitution that is really broad-based, that is supported by the majority of the Gambian, will be really a very important basis to support future social, political, economic, and human development.
Last September, during the ECOWAS summit in Niger, the sub-regional bloc, after considering the report of the Mediation and Security Council meeting at the ministerial level, decided to expand the mandate of the Commission's military presence, the economic mission in the Gambia, for 6 months. He said the ultimate objective is to maintain peace and bring stability, and also help in the security reform, which is not only important for the Gambia but the sub-region. He said the funding for the upkeep of the economic forces in the Gambia, just as in Bissau, comes from ECOWAS member states' contribution and partners such as the European Union, who support ECOWAS in diverse areas. The departure of the economic from the Gambia, whose presence and work, he said, is highly appreciated by the Gambian authority, requires due process to be followed.
The decision of the economic to leave the country, I mean, is something that, of course, is discussed with the country. You know, we discussed with the country. It's done, as I told you, it's done in consultation, and we have several structures for those decisions. You know, we have the committee of the 15 chief of staff, army staff of the member countries, you know, that meet and discuss those things, because we're talking about military mission. And then we also have the Council of Peace and Security, the ministerial meeting. We have the Minister of Defense, Minister of Foreign Affairs, that meets all the 15 countries. And then they also, after that, you know, make a recommendation to the head of state, to the summit, which take the final decision. So it's a process. But again, what is important is that those processes, as I explained to you, are done really in consultation, because the key is always to maintain, really, as I said, peace and stability. This is the objective. We need to make sure that this is maintained. So
this visit is expected to avail the ECOWAS Commission boss the opportunity to meet and interact with stakeholders, thereby guiding any decision making. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Mayors from across Africa, including the mayor of Banjul, on Tuesday organized a webinar conference meeting to discuss the Africa regional launch of the Making Cities Resilient 2030. Lali M. Kamara has more.
Giving her keynote statement on the launch of the MCR 2030, Banjul's Mayor Rohimali Close said the event is in line with the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030. According to her, disasters are on the increase globally and are affecting more lives and livelihoods of our people with increasing vulnerabilities in our communities. Cities are also increasingly at high risk of disasters. However, since the adoption of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction in 2015, the Gambia has committed to investing in risk reduction through the improvement of government sectorial policies, enforcement and monitoring mechanisms, amongst others.
Urban areas are the most vulnerable communities, and as already projected by the United Nations in 2050, 2/3 of the world's population will be living in urban settlements. This is a clear manifestation that we have to establish strong policy frameworks and leadership to make our cities habitat resilience to climate shocks, and the city of Banjul is no exception.
Mayor Low also states that for the campaign to be effective and have an impact, the active participation of mayors, governors, and other stakeholders are required.
The Gambia is one of the smallest countries in Africa, with the economy highly dependent on tourism and rain-fed agriculture, which is highly climate sensitive. Gambia is highly vulnerable to sea level rise caused by climate change, and about 2/3 of the capital city lies half a meter below sea level, making the city the most vulnerable community in the country in terms of climate change and disaster.
As the president of the African Capital City Sustainability Forum, Mayor Low joined her colleagues to promote the agenda of strengthening resilience in capital cities, which is fundamental, and urges them to increase the awareness campaign as part of strategies that can spearhead the journey countrywide. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
Today, the world observes World AIDS Day in remembrance of those who died on the virus and in solidarity with people living with the disease epidemic. In the Gambia, at least 30,000 people are HIV positive and over 8,000 of whom are on treatment. QTV's Mamadou Lamin Choi reports on our country's progress in its response to the disease epidemic.
It is more than 3 decades now since the world discovered what would become known as the HIV epidemic, one that continued to be one of the major global health concerns. Today, there's an approximate 38 million people infected worldwide, according to the joint United Nations program on HIV/AIDS. The first case of the virus in the Gambia was diagnosed in 1986, which is when our national response to the virus began. About a year later, after the first case was recorded, the then government established a National AIDS Control Program and a National AIDS Council, followed by the establishment of National AIDS Secretariat in 2001. Today, about 30,000 people are living with the HIV virus in the Gambia, out of which 8,229 are on treatment, according to official stats. This puts the figure of the number of people on treatment at less than 30%. There are 14 treatment centers and an additional 58 prevention of mother-to-child transmission sites across the country as part of response strategies to the virus.
We continue to deliver PMTCT service through our antenatal clinics, meaning all women who go to antenatal clinics cancel, and a HIV test is proposed for them, and usually the uptake is highest in that cohort of people. That's why the program reaches more women than men, because it's mainly the channel through which we continue to screen people for HIV and AIDS in the Gambia.
There have been reports of fluctuating prevalence of HIV/AIDS in the Gambia's general population. There's also a changing trend among the key drivers of the virus in the country, the commercial sex workers and the MSM group.
We had about 15.9% HIV prevalence among sex workers, And the recent study that we did indicated a decline in that group of key population to now 11%. But among the group of MSM, these are men who have sex with men, there has been a very sharp increase according to that same study, which now puts the HIV prevalence among MSM at 35%, as opposed to the previous study which put it at 9.8%.
The Gambia has reported progress in its more than 3 decades long fight against HIV/AIDS. But it is challenged with gaps that still remain to be filled when more than half of HIV positives in the country are not on the treatment program, a sign of the low capacity of our health system.
We have also done a lot of work in relation to key populations now. I mean, in the past, you don't have access to sex workers to be able to program or ensure HIV programming for that particular group. But now I can tell you for certain that there are a lot of interventions that are geared towards addressing the needs of key populations in the context of HIV and AIDS.
The fight against HIV/AIDS have suffered a serious blow due to the coronavirus pandemic that has led to a shift in global health attention. The Gambia is not an exception to the effects of the pandemic that has derailed efforts to fight serious diseases like HIV/AIDS. General routine services of HIV/AIDS had declined when most of our country's health system ran stretched in fighting the deadly pandemic. Mahmoud Lamin, Qtv News.
We will go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, the news continues with some local and business international and some more local news. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. In business news, Skybank on Tuesday officially changed its name to Bloom Bank Africa Gambia Limited, unveiling the new name at a ceremony at its headquarters along the Caraba Avenue. Babakar C attended the ceremony and he now reports.
Bloom, as the name implies, represent budding, blossoming and flourishing. According to the bank officials, their passion is to help businesses, individuals and institutions in the Gambia grow and develop products that speaks to their essential needs. According to the bank, the new name is in line with their purpose as a bank committed to not only flourishing but providing the right environment in Africa for the settlement of transactional needs. With a decade of experience providing banking services to Gambians, the bank is growing fast and the name change is in line with the rapid developments and success it has achieved over the years. Mamburen Njai, the Minister of Finance, who was the Chief Guest of Honor and a former board member of the bank, expressed gratitude for witnessing the unveiling of a new name of a bank that he was part of from day one.
We have seen and witnessed how Skybank has performed over the years. Very steady, reputable, reliable, consistent in the delivery of the services. What we have seen in terms of transition today is really the fact that the bank has been adapting to a fast-changing environment.
The Governor of Central Bank, Mr. Boaz Saidi, was quick to clarify that a new bank has not been created in the country, as it is just a change of name of an already existing bank, which he believes is due to the rapid development the bank has achieved over the years.
No new bank is created, and the total number of commercial banks in the Gambia still stands at 12. Ladies and gentlemen, the Skybank Gambia Limited was granted operational license on July 3rd, 2009. It has been operating in the Gambia since then as a subsidiary of Skybank PLC of Nigeria.
On behalf of the majority shareholders, Gabriel Edgar, chairman of Oakwood Green Group, said citizens of the continent should rise up and take the mantle to make Africa great and this he said is the objective of the bank, whose main aim is to support the continent to realize its dreams.
Complaining is easy. We can complain all we want. We can blame governments, we can blame politicians, we can blame the white man. We can throw a pity party and lament on how unfair the world is to Africa. Or we can rise up to bloom. We can take up the mantle. We can create the future we want and make our dreams happen. For us, we choose to bloom.
The managing director and CEO of the bank, Mr. Sonny Anwal, tells us more about the reason for going bloom.
Bloom represents body, flourishing, and prosperity. As a bank, we are passionate about helping businesses, individuals, institutions in the Gambia to grow and develop by providing products that speak to their inherent needs. As a flower blooms, so are we as a bank, committed to providing the right mix of capital, technology, and expertise through partnership that engenders the movement of resources from areas of surplus to areas of deficit.
Since the start of operations in the Gambia, the bank has established itself as one of the most trusted private commercial banks operating in the country. Babukar Si, Qtv News.
In some more local news, the Gambia Police Force, in partnership and support from the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, on Tuesday inaugurated the newly refurbished police clinic costing $1 million at an event held at the police lines in Banjul. Lolly M. Kamara reports.
The inauguration of the Gambia Police Force Clinic, refurbished through partnership and support from the GCCI, brought together security personnel, families, and well-wishers from the surrounding area to witness the occasion and make it a memorable day. For the security officers, it is a mission accomplished and another great achievement in making their work easy. The Chief Medical Officer of the Gambia Police Force, Alhaji Kinte, highlights the importance of the clinic, stating that it will not only serve the officers and their families, but the neighborhood also benefits from the clinic.
We all know when we started this clinic, people living around this area all benefit from this clinic. When it was closed, it was hardship for the people in the barracks and again for the people in the surrounding areas. Because even we may not have everything to give you, but even if we don't have everything, but you will get the consultation, and whatever we can give, we will assist, and then the rest you can get it from somewhere else.
Mahmoud Job, the Inspector General of Police, spoke of the benefits of having such an important facility in their midst. Other than that, he is hopeful that the clinic will serve its intended purpose.
I know the importance of this police clinic to the police families and those that are living within the police families. When it was closed, life was so difficult that each time our families are sick, they resort going to either the polyclinic or somewhere else. And that had not been an easy moment for most of our families. But today, this facility is at our doorsteps, is accessible, and it will serve the purpose for which it is made.
Idrissa Mas Job, president of the Gambia's Chamber of Commerce, outlined the important work the police have been doing and continue to do for society. And he is grateful for the cordial relationship the private sector has with the police. He also expressed his hope for a smooth running of the clinic.
We realize that the police also have a very important role protecting also as importantly our health. This project was completely the initiative of the IGP, and when we were invited to come and help, we thought that it was a noble initiative, but it was also at the time in line with what we were trying to do at the chamber. And we are happy that the project was implemented. It's always comforting to see that the help that we have given has gone to the right place. And we wish you well and hope that this will not only benefit the police in police lines, but also our neighborhood.
The police clinic, which has been in existence from the 90s, has finally received a much-needed facelift. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
The European Union, in partnership with Action Aid the Gambia, are working with women in the Central River region to empower them to participate in sustainable economic growth. The project's target is to support 1,550 women working in vegetable production, poultry and various other sectors. Babu Karsi reports.
The project is sponsored by the European Union and the implementing partner is Action Aid the Gambia. The initiative specifically is to increase women's access to and control over productive resources, empowering them to participate in sustainable economic growth in the Central River Region South. This has been done through capacity building, training and infrastructural development over a 3-year period. The project started in 2018 and ends this month. According to the project coordinator, Sergio Camara, the idea is to help equip the women by providing the basic necessities to the women involved in different productive endeavors. The latest training is to teach the processing of raw materials to prevent produce wastage.
Project bi nak liko tax a jóg mooy comme ni ma ko waxee dooleel jigéen ñi ci seen koom-koom.
Our reason for coming here is to help the women with their produce because some of them, after harvesting their produce, will not be able to sell it all, so it becomes a waste. Therefore, we are here to train them on how to keep their products so that it will last long without waste. Among them are the production of ketchup, granule cakes, pepper sauce, wonjo, baobab, to name a few. If these women are trained to do this, their produce will last longer without worries about losing their stuff.
Sira Balde of Senchu Gaindu said the training is beneficial to them, especially her village, as it has impacted positively in their lives and work approach in giving them a grounding in modern gardening and preserving their produce.
Min mbaɗama training min kocci he muɗum gandal ngal min gandiranta min mbawa jango bi min mbawa ɗum naftorde.
We are trained. We gain a lot of knowledge that will go a long way towards helping us in our work and also to train other family members in processing our vegetables. Thanks to Action Aid and the European Union, we, the women of Sarigillo, have been relieved of the hardship we used to go through. With the new training provided, we are able to upkeep our gardens, and the produce we have from them is what we use to feed our families and take care of our children's school fees. We want to thank Action Aid and European Union for coming to our aid, as this has changed a lot of us by not only teaching us how to take care of our gardens, but to also make sure that our produce are kept for a long period or processed into products that will be of great benefit to many.
Mam Koma of Nyamina Kumbai in the Central River region thanked the donors for not only helping them fence their garden, but also for supporting them with gardening products and equipment.
When our garden well gets dry, it is the women who dig to access water. But with the coming of Action Aid and European Union, our tears have been wiped dry. They didn't just dig wells for us, but provide us with fencing, seeds for our gardens, which is really helpful to us.
At the end of the project, the organizers are targeting about 28,000 people with 1,550 women in CRR working in vegetable production, poultry and small ruminant production, women batik and tie and dye producers, milling machine service providers, women's groups and networks, community-based organizations, business associations, credit union association, and 580 local government and traditional authorities. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
We will take another short break and we continue with international and sports news when we return. Welcome back. In international news, Ghanaians are getting ready to vote in a general election on 7th December. However, for some voting takes place today in what is called special voting. More in this report.
In some countries at election time, people working in certain sectors are allowed to vote early, with Ghana being one such country. As the rest of the country gets ready to vote in a few days' time, members of the police, the media, the army, and ambulance workers are allowed to vote almost a week before everyone else. In all, there are 12 sectors and institutions deemed essential service providers whose services may be needed on election day. In Ghana this year, it affects almost 110,000 people. Here, an Electoral Commission official tells us what we can expect.
I should think from your observation, if you could observe, we've put all the protocol measures in place with the social distancing in order, just for people to sit on, canopies for people to sit under for comfort. Everything is in order. We could see that we've served a lot of people. We are waiting for the rest of them to come, the security agents, the media, and the rest who have their names in the special voting list to come and cast their vote.
Ahead of these personnel casting their votes, in a development that is becoming commonplace globally, the Electoral Commission has had to hold press conference to go on record on radio and TV and issue press releases addressing fake news. Rumours had been circulated on social media that members of the security forces were not allowed to vote this year. This practice is used in many countries, though not in the Gambia. Sierra Leone, one country which has the practice, however, reserves it for the armed forces, the police, and other state security personnel only. As the first election in Ghana to be conducted since COVID-19 pandemic hit, extra precautions are being taken. The President of Ghana is elected using the two-round system, whilst the 275 members of parliament are elected in single-member constituencies using the first-past-the-post voting system. Voting lasts from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. today, although in 2016, special voting was extended over 3 days after it was discovered on voting day that many special voters, including security officials, could not cast their ballots on the first day of voting. Some could not find their names on the list of registered voters in their various constituencies. Some voters who transferred their votes from their original constituencies to a new one could not find their names on the early voters registers list, leaving them stranded. Today, an official tells us what we can expect this year.
Going into the main elections on the 7th of December, we expect that it will still be very peaceful, very serene, and very smooth.
To be eligible to vote, one must be a Ghanaian citizen who is at least 18 years old, although those declared insane are disenfranchised. Parliamentary candidates must be Ghanaian citizens of at least 18 years of age and either be present in their constituency or have lived there for at least 5 of the 10 years prior to the election. We hear from a policeman what happens after they and other special voters have voted.
We have made a security arrangement. We have provided security. We are also here and monitoring the situation.
In the presidential election, the two main contenders are the incumbent Nana Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party, the NPP, and the man he succeeded as president, John Dramani Mahama of the National Democratic Congress, who was in office from 2012 to 2017. Reporting for QTV News, I am Are Darami.
Following a rise in cases of gender-based violence during the coronavirus pandemic, Botswana will launch 25 gender violence courts this week, a measure women campaigners hope will bring swifter justice to victims of sexual and domestic abuse. Amar Prijala has the rest of that story.
Women's rights advocates praised the government of the Southern African country move to establish the courts after warning that the lockdown cops were responsible for high rates of gender-based violence, as many women were trapped at home with abusers. According to the United Nations Population Fund, UNPF, nearly 70% of women in Botswana have experienced physical or sexual abuse, which is more than double the global average. And a police report recorded 2,789 rapes since January compared with 2,265 during all of 2019. These statistics indicate a spike in rape cases in Botswana this year. However, activists think the true lockdown figures are likely to be far higher, as many victims do not report gender-based crimes due to fear of reprisals by their abusers, stigma, reluctance to go to the police, as well as being deterred by the prospect of lengthy court proceedings. A councillor supervisor from the Botswana Gender-Based Violence Prevention and Support Center told the Reuters that bringing a case to court can be a long, tedious process, and this frustrates many victims, but added that hopefully, with specialized courts, cases will be addressed accurately and timely. Botswana's Justice Minister told Parliament recently that out of the 440 domestic abuse cases brought to court last year, nearly 70% have received a ruling within 30 days. But rights campaigners and victims says delays are common, citing long period victims have to wait for the courts to take action, leading to most victims losing faith in the justice system. Gender-based violence is a general public health and human rights problem throughout the world, but the patterns and prevalence of violence varied from place to place. Therefore, the need for countries to be signatories to international and national human rights instruments and laws that aims at protecting victims of gender-based violence, especially among women and girls. For example, in the Gambia, according to Section 122 of the 1997 Constitution, the maximum punishment for rape is life imprisonment, and the maximum punishment for attempted rape is 7 years. The word gender is used to describe the difference between men and women in regards to difference in role, expectations, limitations, and etc. Gender-based violence are violence that people experience on the basis of their gender that will result in or are likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harms or sufferings to both men and women, including sexual threats, exploitations, humiliations, assaults, molestations, domestic violence, incest, involuntary prostitutions, torture, insertion of objects into genital openings, and attempted rape, whether occurring in public or in private life. With both men and women experience violence, evidence suggested that the risk factors, patterns, and consequences of violence against women are different from violence that men experience. This is so due to women's and girls' subordinate status in society. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Before we end this bulletin, let's take a quick reminder of our main stories. The president of the ECOWAS Commission told journalists that the sub-regional bloc's continuing support for Gambia's progress after meeting President Barrow. The mayor of Banjul joined other African mayors for the regional launch of the Making Cities Resilient 2030. Today is World AIDS Day, and we hear how the Gambia has been tackling the epidemic. The Gambia Police Force, in partnership and support from the GCCI, inaugurated a newly refurbished police clinic. In business news, we hear about a bank unveiling its new name. In international news, today is Special Voting Day in Ghana. We found out what that means. The rise in gender-based violence in Botswana has led the country to establish special courts. That's all from us at the Qtv Newsroom. Do join us at 10 p.m. for another edition. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.